today we get to chat with a beautiful woman. She's based out of California, and she met her soul twin flame, back in 2003. And she is going to share some of the most profound moments I think I've ever heard of. But definitely, I know you'll agree, this experience of meeting a twin flame or a soul twin is definitely not your typical idea that we romantically idealize for rainbows and roses. I think you're going to find from Jennifer's experience that something much more profound was definitely going on. Jennifer, we're so happy to have you here with us today and to take the time to tell us a story that I know is miraculous, but not easy for you to share. Tell us a little bit about how you met John in 2003 and what all unfolded from that.
Well, I had just separated 9 months earlier from my then husband, and it was quite a nasty separation. And that relationship was, let me just say, very tough, very hard for me. He was a narcissist and abusive. And so 9 months after that split, I sat on my couch and I said, I prayed a prayer. Why do I keep having these problems in relationships? You know what? So I had a spiritual teacher, my very first one. Her name was Lynette Lindsay. She lived in North Carolina. And I went to visit her, and she passed me this flyer and said it was a drum making workshop. And I said, well, I just bought a drum. What do I want to go make one for? Out in Hiawassee in the cold outside, November 1st.
Where's Hiawassee?
Hiawassee is in North Georgia.
Okay.
About 3 to 4 hours away from Atlanta.
Okay. And that's where you were at the time, Atlanta?
I was in Georgia, yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Understood.
So the day of the workshop, I had just bought my pickup truck the night before. I had a landscape business. And so that was a monumental thing for me. So I drove up to pick up Lynette in North Carolina, and then we drove to her friends, and the drive itself was magical. So it was very early when I got up. I forgot to tell you that I was told how to dress. I was told to take off the diamond earrings. I had diamond studs on, take them off, dress down is what I was told by my guides.
Right.
I had never been told what kind of attire to wear before. And so just the drive itself was really making me focus on being present. And so when I picked up Anne, we then beelined it to this, it was a metaphysical bookstore, and they had this gazebo outside. And I parked the truck, and as we were walking across the parking lot, Lynette goes, oh, there's John. And he's unloading supplies from one of these big vans, a big conversion van. And I look at this man he looked like a Marlboro man. He's wearing a black cowboy hat.
Lovely. Lovely. Mark has a hat like that. Just wanted
I love you already, Mark. Anyway, we all said hello, but from across the parking lot, I felt something. I could see his blue eyes from across the parking lot. And I also have to tell you, he is not the type of person that I would normally be attracted to. So in a crowd, I probably wouldn't have noticed him. But so I knew there was something, and Lynette was correct. And so we get down to the gazebo, and we start, we're working on our drum frame, and there's a lot of sanding involved. And each person introduces themselves, and he asked me, so what's your name? And I said, Jennifer. And he said, Jennifer? And I said, yes. That sounded like it was significant to him. And he says, where are you from? I said, well, originally I'm from Toronto. He almost fell backwards. He said, your name is Jennifer, and you're from Toronto? And I could tell that there was something there. I later found out that 2 years earlier, he spent the night in a snowbank. This man was a geologist and a shaman, and he had done a lot of things. And he got a vision that he was going to die at the hands of a Jennifer in Atlanta. Well, he flew from Sedona into Atlanta. So when he met me, he knew it was significant. So we are working on our drums, and it was a buffalo drum, which is also, it's a very sacred thing to do, buffalo hide. I don't know, an hour into this workshop, and Lynette says, "Oh, John, I haven't had a hug from you yet." So everybody lines up to hug him. This is very spontaneous. And when it comes time for me to hug him, it was the most astounding feeling. I've never had this experience before. Mm-hmm. It felt like there was a vortex of energy around us. I felt love for this man that I'd never met before. Love like no earthly love I'd ever experienced. And Lynette, because she commented later, was standing to the side. She said the energy, near her exact words, nearly bowled her over. And so from that point on, I was sort of, holy cow, what is this? What's going on? And so before we all left, I gave him my business card because I felt like this is somebody I need to talk to, at least. And so I gave him my business card, and I said, if you're in Atlanta, and you need a place to stay, you sure. could, or we could meet for coffee or something. This is kind of what I said. So long and the short, we did end up meeting. Lynette drove him down, and I met him.
When she handed you that drum flyer that said, mm-hmm. and said, you need to take this workshop, did she say that you were going to meet somebody? And that
she handed me the flyer, and his picture was on the flyer. Uh-huh. And I have his picture somewhere on a blog, and it's a picture of him. He looked pretty cute, actually, with his hands in his pockets in the front and the cowboy hat. But again, I'm looking at it thinking, well, it's a drum making workshop. What do I want to make a drum for? I just bought one. And she said, there's something for you.
Ah, that's what it was. There's something for you. And that's when you said Lynette was right. That's what you meant?
She was right. So I guess it was maybe 2 weeks later, he came down to do a feng shui session for someone, and he asked me if I wanted to go with him. So I met him. We met for coffee, and then we did this feng shui thing together. And it was kind of interesting because what I discovered was that I could read his mind. And I'm talking like exactly read his mind. I knew what he was thinking. And we were just it was kind of like this, in sync. And we did the feng shui reading, and I did feng shui in the garden and landscape when I was doing my landscape stuff. So it was kind of an interesting thing because we had a chance to work together, and I saw something he didn't. He, was kind of bashful about it. There was a piano that was missing, and I felt the void in the energy field there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he did shamanic workshops and metaphysical workshops and that sort of thing in Sedona. But he was also, he did a dig, and he found this pipe. And he took it to the Anishinaabe elder because he did some research to find out where did this pipe come from. Mm-hmm. And the elder told him that pipe was his and he should carry it. He's the one that found it. And pipes are buried after there's been maybe a hardship and so it's buried in the earth to cleanse it. And the fact that he found it, then the elder said, now you need to study. So he studied Native American lore and history, etc. And he started sharing the peace pipe in Sedona. My intuition was so spot on. I felt like I missed the part where he comes to my house and he meets my daughter, and my daughter said, "You're my other father." And she described a past life with him and the type of structure he lived in. And he said, "Yeah, you're describing a wiki-up." So my daughter had a connection with him too, and she was only 8 at the time. So kind of an extraordinary thing. And she related to him on a much different level than she did her own father.
When did the accident happen? There was an accident. Where was the accident? I'm being told of an accident.
Well, I don't know if you'd call it an accident. We made love and he died right after.
I call that an accident.
That's an
That's the
accident.
accident. Yeah.
It's not the intended outcome.
Yeah. It's like the accident. It's gone, whoosh. It's the accident.
I was watching her eyes. I was watching her eyes as she was telling your story. Her eyes were getting red. Her eyes were reddening with tears as you were talking about your story.
And that's what I feel. I feel just torn apart, absolutely, ripped apart. And it's sort of like, when you get a jigsaw puzzle, it's like you were the jigsaw puzzle, and then all of a sudden, whoosh, and all the parts are flying through space. And we need to get you back together in a metaphysical way. We need to get you to come back together.
So all of my relationships prior to the one with John were extremely abusive. And my sense about him was that he came to show me what real love would feel like.
Unconditional love.
Unconditional love.
Yes.
Yeah. He was very evolved. He was very spiritual, very earthy. What I will say is it took me a long time to overcome the grief and the loss. I mean, his belongings were around my home, his glasses, his hat, his drum. But there were some things that happened that were quite unusual. It happened 3 times where John, Ariel, and I took a trip to Stone Mountain, which is a very sacred place just outside of Atlanta.
Hello.
Pardon, Kitty.
It's a cat.
Hello.
Yes, he wanted to join us too.
He's always welcome.
So we went and did the Stone Mountain hike. We went up to the top. We came back down. We had a picnic lunch or something. And driving in my truck, all of a sudden I start to feel dizzy. John is sitting next to me on the right, and Ariel's in the back. But the dizziness was not this way. It was this way.
Humbling, yeah.
Yes. And I had to pull over and get out of the truck. I couldn't drive. And that happened 3 times to me. Once then with John. Once there was another experience that happened. I can't remember exactly. And then the day that I went and did sacred prayers over his body before he was cremated. And on my way home, it happened again. And it was so bad that I had to crawl into my house. That dizzy feeling was. So when he died, my son met me at the hospital and took me home afterwards. And when we drove up the driveway, it had been clear, a lovely, placid, quiet night. We drove up the driveway and the wind was howling down the driveway. And David said, "John's here." Oh. Now, for my son to say that, he didn't do all the things that I did, didn't have all the same beliefs, but he met John. He knew John. John had a photographic memory, quite an extraordinary man, not your typical. And David stayed with me, and this is where I'm going to cry.
With you. We're with you.
He slept with me in the bed next to me. He was afraid that I could feel my soul lurching out of my body.
Yeah, your heart.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he stayed with you that night.
He did. Yeah. David was really worried. And I know that had he not, I probably would have left too.
Yeah. You were chasing yourself, your feelings, everything was bubbling up to the surface. So, it's a wonderful love story, but a terrible tale. It really is, that you meet somebody that you feel as if you're akin to.
Yes.
You are part of one another, and then to lose is awful.
It's like losing a
Absolutely
part of
awful.
yourself that you didn't
So
even know you had.
I met him November 1st, just to give you a timeline. I met him November 1st, and then my attorney said to me, when Rich found out about him, my attorney said, you can't see him anymore. So we didn't. And then finally, after New Year's, he sent a gift to Ariel and I for Christmas. He sent her a turtle, a blue heron feather. I'm trying to remember. He sent me I'm trying to remember. It's a diamond from New York that he mined himself. It starts with an H.
Herkimer.
He gave me a Herkimer diamond, and I can't remember, there was something else, but very spiritual gifts. Mm-hmm. And then finally, towards the end of January, he said, F it, I'm coming to see you. I can't stand this anymore. So he flew in. Ariel was with her dad. And that he arrived on the Monday, and on the Thursday he died, January 22nd. So November 1st to January 22nd. It was about 3 months but we weren't even together we had 6 weeks together approximately. And then this time apart where we were on the phone, long hours, daily. And then
right before he passed, he said some words to you.
Yep, he did. We had just made love. And the interesting thing was we were in the living room on my couch. And that had never happened before. So that was interesting in itself. Mm-hmm. And after we made love, he sat up and he said to me, I love you and I'll never leave you. And then he slid off the couch and he urinated right away. So I knew he was gone. There was no heart attack. There was no clutching his heart. There was nothing like that.
You didn't have a stroke.
No stroke. There was nothing like that. He went out on his Kundalini, just
gone. Yeah. And that's a very powerful way to leave your body.
Yeah.
That leaves all sorts of vortexes around what would be you, and the empty space. I'd be interested in to see how you filled that empty space that you were floundering in, because when people leave like that, it leaves such a massive vortex.
Well, it was shocking for sure. Mm-hmm. And I called Diana, his best friend, that, she's now passed too. Really? 2012. Yeah.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And so he introduced me to all these friends. So he left, but he had introduced me to all these friends, some of which I'm still friends with today.
Exactly.
So there were many gifts that he gave me, but the unconditional love piece was huge, because if you've been abused and traumatized and molested and, your wires are crossed, and so you don't know what does it feel like to be accepted and loved unconditionally. Okay. Most people never know that.
But when he left, when he died and he left this world, how did you survive that first day, week, month? How did you fill up that space? What was happening to you?
There's a lot of weeping.
Yeah.
He sent me blue herons. Uh-huh. He worked with the blue heron people, and so often I would go outside and a blue heron would fly by, which would help to sort of soothe my heart.
Yeah.
early on, he was doing those types of things very often, frequently. So I remember I was sitting at my desk in my office and just like I had for many, many days, just weeping. And he came and he stood beside me and he said, "Stop it. Just cut it out. If it were me, I would have already slept with somebody by now."
I like it. I like it. I like where he's coming from.
So I was really wallowing in it. And I realized, because if I didn't do the estimates, my daughter and I wouldn't eat. If I didn't get
get back to living, right?
living.
Yes.
Yeah. But
oh my gosh.
I think one of the things that Anjali had said was he passed on a lot of information to me.
And I think that's going to help answer. I think that's where I'm wondering if Marion is asking her question in that direction. What changed? What filled?
Yeah, what filled up your space? You've got this massive void.
I think you should tell her everything. Tell her everything.
Well, I was seeing his friends in North Georgia. I mean, a lot of them were, communicating. We did a memorial service where I sang and I officiated for him. And all of the people came. There were some things that he was very boyish and playful, and he did a couple of things at Diana's house. This was before he passed. And one of them was a sacred honoring of the children. And the children and adults had a water balloon fight. It was quite a sweet thing to do. I mean, most often children and adults don't play like that.
No, that's not.
So he was very playful. Yeah.
And you changed aspects.
Did he sing a song to you?
Oh.
Yeah, I've got that mark as well. Yeah. And a favorite place in your home. I don't know. The favorite corner or a favorite chair or something like that.
Well,
because I'm hearing a song.
Yeah, he sang. He wrote songs and sang songs, and there was one, "Beauty All Around." But there were several that he sang. He did so at the drum workshop, he blessed the drums and awakened them, and then he sang this song. And I got to tell you, I mean, I'm trying to remember what it was. He anointed us with an oil.
Yes.
And I can't remember what he put on us, but I smelled something different than what he put on us. So there were so many magical things that happened around him.
Yeah.
And then
There's some lyrics that you're having a hard time remembering. You should find out what those lyrics are.
Okay.
So we'll work on getting the lyrics.
Well, the one song, do you want me to try and sing it for you?
Yes, please.
Don't laugh, okay?
Never.
The sun gives us light. The earth fills our bodies. Something about the rain. The rain.
Yeah, got the rain.
And then the chorus is beauty all around, beauty all around, beauty all around. And he had such a powerful voice. So I used to have a CD. I don't have it anymore. The only thing I have kept is a picture. I've tried really hard to let go. Lynette said to me, there will never be another John for you. And boy, was she right, because wow. I married another man after that, and he was gay and an alcoholic, and he sure wasn't John.
I can't get over this.
And since that time, there hasn't been anyone to compare.
Oh, Jen.
Yeah.
but you don't need anyone else. He's there for you. He's in the etheric. He's all around you, inside you, and your friend was right. He will never leave you. He will never leave you, and you'll see him in those places that you frequent on a day-to-day basis. I just feel that the energy between you is so very special and so significant. You're going to make terrible mistakes within your life just to elevate his persona, if you know what I mean. He was the perfect one for you, and that's all you can wish for and hope for in life, is one perfect person to share things with, and you've had that. I don't feel sorry for you. I don't feel sorry for you at all, to have had that love and felt it and been in it and felt the vortex of him passing.
Are you my mother, Miriam?
Could be.
Because those are the exact words my mother said to me. She said, I don't feel sorry for you. Some people never experience
it. And I was just going to say that. Yeah. I mean, I'm often inspired to say, so, and I just felt inspired to say that to you.
Thank you.
Nobody can take that experience away from you. It's yours. It's like the diamond that he gave you. There's nothing else like it. And that's yours forever and ever. Be very grateful.
So they're like, isn't the feeling still there?
The feeling for him?
Yes.
The feeling's not gone,
No.
You might, you mourn this person not being there, but the person's more than the person, it's the feeling, and the feeling's not gone.
Well, the thing that I have to say about all of this, I mean, I am, it's been now how many years? Mathematician.
2003, since 2003, 2004. So let's going to go on 17 years.
17 years. So in the 17 years since he's passed, I still, when I'm out, and I have a very different connection to the earth because of him.
So that's a big change.
Birds feeding out of my hand, and the mountains and the trees speak to me. So yeah, absolutely. He changed my life profoundly.
They feel like a lot of native gifts.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And animals like dogs. Yes. They come up to me like they know something.
You're the one they want.
I've had horses do the same. Yeah, run across. I was in Scotland and there was a horse. We got out of the vehicle to see this site, and this horse was way across the pasture and ran to me.
There you go.
Yes, ma'am.
When you were talking about the feeling is still there, but yes, you mourn the person, but the feeling remains, and that's eternal. My pendulum started telling me that he is saying that you are living as for two. You are living for two. What does that feel like? Was he the only person you've ever been able to read somebody's mind like that? Was he is this the only kind of miraculous situation in which I kind of feel like his essence came into you, and you are the entirety of it?
There were some other things. There's so many things that I've skipped over here.
Sure.
The night before, because he traveled the red road, and although he was white, he was not. That you hear some people say, "Oh yeah, he's a Native American wannabe." No, he trained, and studied for 8 years with this man. But so the night before. We were in bed together. I woke up and I heard, I've never heard this before. There were lots of trees around the house that I was living in, and an owl hooted several times. And when I mentioned it the next day, the color just drained from his face, and he never said anything. But when I told other people that were friends of his that, knew the lore, they said, oh, the owl was calling his name, and that means within 24 hours he's going to die.
Right. He's being called. He had said that he expected to die in the arms of a woman named Jennifer from Toronto, but first had assumed that it was going to feel more like a plane crash.
Well, he knew he was going to Atlanta, and he had this premonition before he flew to Atlanta. And so, when we get intuition, we're channeling and we interpret it a certain way. We're not always interpreting things correctly, and then we find out later, oh, that's what they meant. So when he went back to Sedona, when we were doing all these, long phone calls, he says, you know what, we should have a date. I said, what? He goes, yeah, let's have a date night. Like I said, he was very playful. And so we agreed. And he said, oh, I want you to go see Cold Mountain. And
he was there and you were there.
He was in Sedona. I was in Georgia.
Okay.
So we were talking on the phone on the way to the movie. And then we get on the phone after. Well, in the theater, he said that the role of the guy who played Nicole Kidman's lover
in Cold Mountain.
That was him. He said that was him in a past life. He believed it strongly. So while I'm sitting there watching the movie, I'm sitting there all by myself. All of a sudden, my legs start to shake, and they're just like this, uncontrollably. I can't stop them. It's just shake, shake, shake. Well, we talked on the way home, and we kept getting our phone call disconnected. And that happened 3-4 times. And I thought, well, this is interesting, very curious. Anyway, so the night that he died, he made me a Chinese food feast. He was a really good cook, except when he burnt my pot and the bottom fell off.
Oh, gosh.
Literally. So these are the memories. Ariel and I talk about this.
It happens. Okay.
So he gets up from the table and he goes onto the couch and he's playing the flute and he sang and played beautifully. And I'm sitting finishing, because I'm a slow eater, at the table. And all of a sudden, while he's playing, my legs start doing this. Yeah. And I'm just shaking and shaking and shaking. And so I moved over to be with him. And then we made love. So
right, and that's how it proceeded from there.
Those two things, were obviously signaling to me my soul knew something that my conscious mind didn't.
Yes,
definitely.
And it was relating to what you experienced in the movie, which had to do with death.
Right. And when I look back to when I saw him get off the plane, he had an ashen look to him. And they say that, before someone passes, there's no auric field.
That's right. That's true. True. Your aura, it sort of almost sucks into you. Yeah. My best friend, Alex, she said to me, Marion, she said, I'm worried about my husband, Malcolm. She said, can you have a look and see how he's going? And I said, Lex, I'm really sorry, but he's got no aura. It was all sucked into itself. And I think that's why I said about the void that you would have felt with the Kundalini leaving that. Because it's gone in, you suck it in, and then it goes up. So that's why you feel it. But I do know that, your aura almost, it doesn't disappear, but it goes within you, really.
Or at least it won't be seen. It won't be seen the way.
No, you can't see it. No.
Yeah, there's no like etheric.
Can we do
did
30 seconds of,
didn't we?
do 30 seconds of silence for here, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Did you? It's coming through Jennifer's mic.
Yeah, I was hearing it.
It was. Did you hear it?
Yes, I
Voices. There's voices coming.
Conversational, and then it would pause, and then it would start again, and then it would pause.
I picked up that it was something about making a difference. I come to make a difference, and I don't think that was just for you, Jennifer. I think that was for all of us. And it was like as if it was almost as if John was explaining or trying to explain what was going on. But it was quite prevalent. So I could hear it. But it's like listening to conversation that's going on in another room.
It's kind of muffled.
Or you go into a party and you can hear the buzz, 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 but you don't know what they're saying. But he's definitely around you, sweetheart. He's there all.
Oh, there's something else I wanted to tell you. You know, as we're talking, things are coming back to me.
Sure.
So the 3 nights that we spent together before he exited, he told me his dreams, and he was being, what's the word? The universe was talking to him and telling him that they needed him to do something. Like they were trying to procure his insights and skill set, etc. And he says he felt like he was being, what's the word when somebody's trying to employ you? They're
kind of like you're being recruited.
Yes, he was being recruited. Yes, and the dreams were phantasmagorical. I mean, just the strangest things. And one of his friends said that there were, lots of people chimed in after he passed, and I talked to, because I called everyone. They said to me that because I always had a candle burning, that he was astral traveling every night, and then he would lose his way, and the candle brought him back.
He just came through and told me what it was. He was being recruited for Great White Brotherhood, which is spiritual peace on planet Earth. It's part of the angelic realm. It's part of the Galactic Federation that's working to protect Earth. But the Great White Brotherhood is uniquely associated to our First Peoples origin principles.
I'm not familiar with this red road. Explain to me.
Okay, so if you were born Native American, then you are part of the Red Road. You may practice Native American tradition. You may so when John was talking about God, he would always say Great Spirit. So studying the Red Road means that you are adhering to Native American tradition.
Right.
Whatever tribe that may be.
I channeled the energy of an Indian when I was in New Jersey. His name was Tarchi, but he told me that he was a chief, but I would call him Tarchiwa, which meant that he was higher up. And we did some work together while I was there, but he made me keeper of the flame.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Which was something that's quite alien to me, but that's what he said I was. I was keeper of the flame, so which was quite an honor, really. And he told me that I would come back to the Americas, and I would walk the Trail of Tears. So I didn't know if that's what you were talking about. The Red Road was the Trail of Tears, So. No. So I suppose I've got permission to do whatever I've got to do.
From an Akashic perspective, your soul is Pleiadian, John's soul is Pleiadian. So your unified soul is a Pleiadian soul. Typically for the benefit of the planet at this particular time, for all of mankind, our human race, taken together. It seems that Pleiadians tend to be charged by a few different paths for making a difference. And one of the paths is the Great White Brotherhood. The other path is Melchizedek, which is a delineation through Christic force, I believe. And so anything related to the Melchizedek priesthood tends to be something that is assigned to Pleiadian souls. So, Marion, this will be handy information for you as well, because you're also our fellow Pleiadian. And then, of course, there are other pathways besides, but those are the two main ones.
Do you like green?
Do I what?
Do you like the color green?
Oh, yes, I do.
It's like I've got you shrouded in a beautiful, it's like a blanket almost, that I can't see who's putting it around you, but it's like as if I'm protecting you from behind, and I have this most luscious, beautiful green blanket going around your shoulders. It's absolutely amazing. Why it's green? It could be that you just liked it. I don't know, but it's significant in some way.
Thank you.
Still hear something going on. But it's like listening to whispers. It's definitely. Do you not hear spirit, Jennifer?
Oh, I do. But obviously, I'm not supposed to hear this. I'm not hearing it.
Well, I think they're trying to tell me. Well, she can hear us when we need to get through. Jennifer can hear us.
Yeah.
So, and it's just, I suppose, that we are picking up that whispering that they do.
No, there are times when I hear profoundly. Usually, it's just quiet whispers. That I'm. They're talking to me constantly. But this, no, I'm not. I think it's for you to hear, and then maybe tell me about it for some reason.
I think it's for us to hear, to validate that you hear.
Oh, okay.
I think they're just saying, look, well, this is what we do with Jennifer. This is how we interact with her. I'm fortunate. I get to see, feel, hear, and see spirit. But I know you're being given instructions on a day-by-day basis for your life. And I think a lot of it is coming through from John. I really do. That love, is surrounding you. It's amazing. So I can't see him. And normally I can see him, but he doesn't want to show me himself. That's for you and you alone.
Yeah, he definitely did look like a Marlboro man. He was short. I think he was like 5'9", had a bit of a belly. How old is he? He was 54 when he died. He was a Leo, which is interesting because my ex that I was divorcing was also a Leo. So when I learned that John was a Leo, I was like, no,
no, thank you.
Another one. Yeah.
Not again.
Not again. Oh my God.
But he was nothing like Rich.
Yeah.
Not at all. And Ariel, I've got to say, this was the thing that was so heartbreaking. She bonded with him on such a deep level. Like it was soul to soul.
Yeah.
And that really disturbed her father. He was incredibly jealous of John and didn't want him near her at all.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And you were saying that she also didn't have a chance to say goodbye to John.
Yeah, she did not.
That's very heartbreaking. Jennifer, would you like to tell us and our friends and our viewers about the kind of work that you do, and if you wish, where folks could reach out to you if they feel so moved?
Yeah, thank you. So since I healed narcissistic abuse and codependency and molestation, that is what I do. I am a trauma coach and healer. I channel. So when I work with my clients, I open the Akashic records and I do the healing from within the records, and I receive information that is pertinent to each client's process and what they need. You can reach me. My website is jenniferelizabethmasters.com. My email is the same, jenniferelizabethmasters@gmail.com. Long, but at least
we'll do it. Yeah.
And I'm also on Facebook and YouTube.
Fabulous.
You see, you were only with this guy for a short time.
Very short.
But imagine what this conversation would be like if you didn't have that short time.
We had some deep conversations in that time, very deep. I discovered a lot about him.
You talk about him like it's a lifetime together.
True.
You were with these other people for years, and there's just a quick mention here and a quick mention there. This guy, realistically, a few days in the physical, and it's like you've spent a lifetime with him.
And meeting him changed you.
Absolutely.
Did you believe in miracles before you met John?
I don't think I did. Actually, I think my life was pretty shitty up until that point.
Right?
To be
Oh
honest.
boy.
Yeah. So
It's
many
really-
gifts. So many
gifts. So obviously, you are our living example that meeting your soul twin or your twin flame doesn't turn out the way that we tend to fairy tale romanticize.
Definitely
The idea
not.
is not, and it's really much bigger than that.
Yeah.
Obviously, the experience is meant to be much more profound than that. Thank
But
you.
it is the profoundness that makes it so very special.
Absolutely.
Nobody can take that time away from you.
Never.
No.
You lived a lifetime in each moment that you
You're
were
still
together,
living it.
which is absolutely wonderful.
I still feel you're living it now because it's still your soul in you. Right?
Yeah. It's so the twin flame relationship is not like a soulmate. A twin flame relationship is not meant to last a lifetime or even years. It's to teach you something, and then that's it. It's life changing, and I would say absolutely, because after his passing, then I was sort of bobbing and weaving to find my way, and then I became a hypnotherapist, and then I started to study energy medicine, and
it's always about unconditional love, and unconditional love, like romantic love. No, they're not alike. They're not alike at all.
No.
It usually is about learning how to love yourself, and how you end up feeling about yourself can now rise to that same mystical level as with this other person. And in my life's work, I definitely have seen enough situations that involve soulmates, twin flames, soul twins, and it's always about how to learn to love yourself.
Everything goes back to yes.
What an extraordinary life.
Experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tremendous. Wonderful. Thank you so much for not leaving out any details, really, and just telling us very honestly how powerful this experience is.
And it's lovely to share.
Yeah.
Thank you.
In your experiences. Really lovely.
Well, thank you. Thank you for honoring me, all of you. I appreciate it.
The honor's ours, really.